enhance the supervision of the Arabic student. So in the first, I will, by the way, if you have any experience you want to share, you would like to ask questions during the presentation, just feel free. Okay, we are not in class, we are not in formal workshop. Okay, so the first question raised is, what are the differences between the supervising Arabic and English students? Is it the language, the Arabic language and English? Is it the culture? Is it the gender? Because sometimes in when you supervise Arabic student from cross gender, it's different from supervising others due to the gender sensitivity. I will share some experience on that. Then the age and the expectations. This is um, this point that I fi- uh, I I I figure out from my experience. Maybe you have some other point, then we can listen to the languages. We have a few types. We have the first, when we have a student fluent in Arabic and have good English, and when we have those kind of students, we have no much problem. I mean, the student can we can especially if the supervisor want to clarify the idea in English, they can do it. The other things also, the student when they have good English, they can search into the articles looking for the good refereed journals and so on. But if they don't have the second and the third one, then we will have the this miss issues. Sometimes you tell something, the student keep saying okay, okay, okay. Then even sometimes you give them the link to search, and some articles in English, they they find or they summarize the idea in different way, or trying it using the Googles and so on. And when the student fluent in Arabic but have no English, and that is also another issue. The we couldn't see the worst, because the worst is coming. The worst is when you have student who is not Arabic, but he want to write in Arabic, and he's not fluent in Arabic, and he's not fluent in English. So I already have that experience with one of the student from, I think, from Bangladesh. And then you feel like you don't know how to handle that kind of student when you speak. And he claim that his Arabic is good, but it's not that good to the level of writing in Arabic. But his English is not that okay. Okay, so those kind of differences, or those kind of concerns that may raise it due to the language. And then we have the culture. Um, Despite the culture for other race, we should consider as a supervisor. But for Arab, I will share what is the main problem, or the main type, and then we'll discuss that. Non-Arab student, and this is the first type. When we have non-Arab student and they write in Arabic language, and this one we should it kind of let's say I have one of the student that I supervise, as I said, from Bangladesh, and one from and Nigeria, and other one from Indonesia. But they write in Arabic. So you need to consider their culture, not the Arabic culture, because let's say for Indonesian, they are okay, hardworking. You can, it's not that difficult to push them to be independent. And then for Arabic culture student and writing in English language, and that is the one of the issue that we face, that the student is bringing the language, the Arabic language, the Arabic culture into the writing in English. Yeah, it's easy to since they have little English, but the issue in term of presentation, in term of dependency, they are more reluctant. The Arabic student, I can see, it depends in countries, by the way. Like to me, I can see the Gulf countries student are more reluctant, more depending in the supervisor and others to help them in their writing. Also, if you come to, but if you come to like I don't want to pride my country, Yemen and Palestine. They are hardworking. You can Sudan, Sudanese student. They are they do the work. They hardworking and so on. For Jordanian and Syrian, other story. They somehow they can be dependent, but also there is some an Egyptian, some sort of ego. They feel they know everything. That's the culture. That's the culture. When you talk, when you give advice, they they feel, yeah. Okay, we know. I know. So you feel irritated with this kind of attitude, but it is their culture. It's their culture to show that they know everything. They can do anything, but in the end, you need to control and so on. And then for those Arabic culture student and writing in Arabic, this is what I explained just now. um, for Arabic culture, we should consider a few things. Religion, because not all Arab are Muslim. Sometime we have a student who is and Christian, and sometimes you have mazhab. We have some of the students are from different mazhab. Sometimes we are Shafi'i, they are Maliki. Especially now we have a few many students from Oman, so they have the Abadi madhab, which is quite different from us. So I myself, I try to be away from discussing any issues. Even the students sometimes they give me a book about their madhab, and they try to open a discussion sometimes, especially if we have free time. So I don't touch that, because it is sensitive, and if you raise some issue or some things that is not in their favor, they may reflect it. Because I have one story in UIA. The lecturer, one lecturer from I think he's from Syria, in UIA. He insult one Omani. He didn't insult the student directly, but in the class he insult the madhab of Abadiyah, and he raised that issue to the embassy, Omani embassy, and Omani embassy contact the university and push to the lecturer to resign. So we should not discuss religion or mazhab issues, as long as it's not as long as it is within the, let's say, we are supervising student with Islamic what we call Islamic banking or something, then it's okay. But if it is something out of that, then better not. Politics is also something sensitive. Yeah, you to me, let's say Yemen, now we have conflict, we have Saudi involved, and we have Emirates involved, Oman involved in negatively, in my view. But I have student from Oman, I have student from Emirate. I didn't discuss this with them. Even I know that they I understand for sure they will be in their side of the country, or the leaders and so on. So I didn't. I try to be professional and not to touch such issues with them. Also, history, any other things that related to that sensitive to that country. Okay, gender sensitivity. That's one of the things that I think categorize or feature the Arabic culture. The one thing is when you the cross gender. Let's say you are male supervising female, and then you need to consider some space between the lecturer and the student, but uh, the Arabic sensitivity is a way beyond, because I have, in my experience, I have one student, female student, who I couldn't manage to talk to her face to face until almost one semester, because her husband keep coming attending the even he's the one who discuss with me. He come covering the face, keep quiet, and then I talk to her, he answer, and then he talk to her, and so then I managed to push and discuss with him that let her discuss with me. I am her I am as a brother. Discuss with me direct the academic matters, and you can come and sit silent. For the management or any signing forms and so on, you do it. You can contact me. So he's from I think from Algeria. That's one thing. Other than that, also the opposite side. Sometimes you are the lecturer female, and the male you will see some Arab, especially if they feel like excited, or feel you are kind to them, they will have overreaction, and sometimes they didn't use the appropriate sentence, or appropriate how to say, when they message, let's say WhatsApp, sometimes they send hard, or they send kiss. It doesn't mean they mean kissing and so on, but they that is their the how to say, the friendly attitude, even from male to male, female to female. But it's not sometimes we need to sometimes to sit with them, explain this is not right, this is not appropriate. Also the dress code for sometime for I have an experience with one of the Jordanian student who always come with sport tied dress, just to show his muscles and so on. So I several times discuss with him that is not appropriate in the university. When you come to me, you come as a student, uh, formally and so on. But because in the I think in Jordanian universities, there's no dress code, and they feel free, even because in Jordan they receive Christians and Muslim and so on, so they don't have that restriction of dress code like in Malaysia, which is I prefer the Malaysian style in the universities. And then the student age, um, uh, when there is a different age between the supervisor and student, and the worst thing when the student is above 50, which I experienced a few student, like almost four student, who is one of the student was 65 years old, and then you will face like you need to be son, instead giving advice to the grandpa. That is how I describe it, because I really face difficulties in giving because when you give, let's say, especially when you are not satisfied with the writing or with the, let's say, what the methodology, then you tell, okay, you do this, do this. he do it one, and then you still not satisfied, then you will see the face how he sometimes he's like, I don't want to do it. You are it's kind of unsatisfaction, dissatisfaction face that giving by him, and he's kind of it's not I can call it he or those kind of old people. They don't like to change. They appreciate more their work, what they have done. So not all, but many, most of them. So the idea, sometimes I reach to the point that I need to explain, like be a child, explain oh, this one it's not so I explain this paragraph, you may add this point. Sometimes I write the paragraph itself. If I face, especially in the problem statement, he couldn't catch, then I just write that paragraph, rewrite it, and show him. You just do that, and then explain step by step, like small baby. I think that is the way I face. I thought it's right thing to do to deal with them, because um, you need to be humble. You need to understand their age. It's not like a student in your age or younger than you. It's sometimes, especially if they are above 50, uh, it is not easy to accept especially in the Arabic culture, to accept the advice. And sometimes you cannot, for sure, you cannot argue much, like if I have a student who is not respectful or is not dependent, then I may say you are not doing the appropriate work. But this sentence cannot be hand over to those elderly people. Okay, expectation. This is the last point in this session, which I believe we have two sides of expectation: supervisors' expectation and student expectation. For supervisors' expectation, we understand that we expect the student to be independent, to work hard, to do their work, uh, and to show respect to the supervisor. Um, and to provide to produce quality output in the end of their PhD or master journey. That's what we expect, and we expect we are not going to feed them and give them everything, show them from A to Z. But the student expect guidance, expect to some explanation here and there, and so on. And sometimes they expect more than that, which is how to say, the mantu, expecting you to feel them, to give some time, to give some feeling support, even financial support, because some student, they may come to share with you the issues, financial issues about the fees and so on. And sometimes also they expect you to solve their management or administration's issues with the offices and so on. uh, More than that, for the Arabic student, they expect more. They expect the supervisor will um, push them, will they expect the supervisor is the responsible of their work. So uh, I experienced several times in the Viva session, when I share the session, or exam, or as examiner, or as a supervisor, the student, if they face difficulties in answering question, then they said my supervisor say that. So that is the thing that I find the Arab student try to shift their responsibility to the supervisor. So we need we need to. I will explain how to handle this. This matters later on. So just now is kind of giving you um, uh, the differences or how to handle the Arabic student, um, the Arabic student. So now the second session is issues with Arabic thesis. Dr. Nidila, should I stop here and we have discussion?
Yeah, I think what we can do, we can have discussion from the floor, right, Dr.
Yeah,
Abdullah?
yeah.
Yeah,
Then we
anyone to
move.
have a question? Maybe I will start off with the question. I mean, how maybe we probably we can try to get some ideas or tips. Now, I know that you're going to mention it later, but how to handle students who are actually they don't listen to you, because how many times that you say to them, they say I don't want to do it. So I don't want to do it. So sometimes I have a kind of difficulty in handling students who said they don't want to do this, they don't want, they're very adamant, saying
Yeah,
that, yeah, because it's quite maybe I don't understand their culture, I don't understand, but how are we going to manage this kind of student who are actually very adamant that they don't want to do this?
yeah. Yes, actually, as I mentioned just now, I mentioned some countries that they feel ego of their knowledge. Like I said, like Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. Some students, not all, I cannot generalize, but this is their culture, even because they feel that they are more educated, they involve in educating other Arab countries and so on. So uh, yeah, for sure, I face many kind of things arguing. When you give them something, then they argue. No, then what I my advice, I push the student to do the hard work. So I tell him, like one of the student, he mentioned. I asked him to add one moderating variable, and I said your model it's not suitable to have mediation. He keep arguing. No, I know I read articles on that. So what I did to him, I said, okay, you need to find me 10 articles supporting your idea, and you come to present it with me, and let me see your idea whether it's okay or not. And then, even if that student, he bring me I think almost three articles, and was not referred articles. It's one from conference, one two from Jordan, from the same country. Then I said, okay, that articles is not okay. He keep arguing. I said to him, okay, you need to bring me two opinion from other academician from Malaysia. I give him the address for one of the professor in UKM. I say in the same field as he, and one from UAA. So I asked him, okay, go and consult with them, and if they okay, I'm okay. If not, then you cannot argue. For sure, they because they reject his model, and then I think for us as a supervisors, we shouldn't accept anything wrong, because the student, sometimes, that's one thing that I will share with you. Sometimes the student who come from countries that they have, like Egypt, Syria, Algeria, and also Jordan, they have universities, they have PhD and master degree in their universities. So their library, the library of those universities are full of theses. So the practice that the student do, unfortunately, they go and pick up one thesis and try to copy and paste the model. The problem, only they change the sample. So that's why they feel eager to follow the steps, because they will ease the and shorten their time for they they will not spend time in collecting the literature and so on, because they have ready model, ready thesis. They just copy. Maybe the study was in different country, then they bring it and apply here. So that's why I always I will one of the tips is to in the initial stage is to change the model, change the title of the research. Don't let it as it is submitted from the student. That is my input here. Thank you, Doctor.
Question? Any question from the floor? Anyone who have problem in handling any issues that you want to probably ask Dr. Abdullah how to resolve certain thing? I'm sure that every one of us have experience. Okay. Anyone? So you can probably put in the chat if you want to say it out loud, so I can read from the chat and ask Dr. Abdullah. So I think our participants today are very quiet, Dr. Abdullah. There's no. Okay. Alright.
Dr. Abdullah, Sainscom, Dr. Nurul here.
Oh, Dr. Nurul. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nurul. Okay, ask the question.
I have two students before who already graduated, but they wrote in English. The one from Yemen, another one from Libya. But so far, we are able to handle him until finish, until the end. But now I have another one, the one that you attended the colloquium last time. So she actually the background in Sharia, and then in terms of the one that you mentioned just now, if we gave her the paper in English, so she will ask us back because there is a issue on the language. She cannot read the English paper. So what do you think? How to handle that? Because I don't think we will able to help her in terms of give inputs from English and because I'm not so much uh, so good in Arabic too. So that's why it's quite challenging.
Dr. Abdullah, we cannot we cannot hear you. I
Oh
think
yeah. Now, okay,
Okay.
okay. I think now Google Translate is quite good in giving the idea, giving the general idea of the any article. So you may ask the student to translate the abstract and uh, and then get the main idea whether it is close is it close to the point that you want the student to use in their model or something. This is one thing. For me, sometimes I reach to the point I ask the student to translate, to send the article to translator, especially because if it is key article, I ask the student, okay, this article you cannot skip. So one of my students, I give them almost 5 articles. Ask them go and translate those articles with the professional translator. This articles is key articles for you. So but you need to do the work somehow. As a supervisor, you need to ensure that this articles is will be used because they will spend some money. They need to pay some money for translation. Yeah, and sometimes I asked this one of the students. I said search other universities if you have any student who study PhD or master in English from our country. Ask them to help to translate. Don't do the work yourself. Just just give them options to do because the student will like it if you start do their work, they will not stop asking you to do. Because I have one student. I already told you the old guy. I one time I do the translation, I do the adding, then he keep asking, okay, can you do this, can you do this, then I think I do 50% of his work. So don't open the door for the student to we are just supervisor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. Okay. Is that answering the question, Dr. Nurul? Is it okay?
Uh, I'll try.
Okay.
Yeah, we should try. We can. We don't. Yeah, because the student is giving us. I believe they're giving us the headache, especially when they feel like different culture, different language, and they think the expectation they expect that you are the supervisors. You should solve all problems I face.
Okay. Any other question? I think Dr. Abdullah, you can put, I think, the mic towards your mouth. I think there's some
Okay.
sound. Okay. All right. Any other question, guys, from the floor that you want to ask Dr. Abdullah? Maybe any of you have any difficulty in handling some of your students. So maybe we can share some of our experiences and then probably can give us some guide.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Dr. Azari.
Salam.
Azari, yeah, Dr. Abdullah.
Yeah.
I have one student from Palestine, basically. He's writing thesis in English. However, his English is not that good. So I found that he is just copying I think the text from other sources, and one more thing, he's he's now he's not in Malaysia. He has gone back to Palestine, and he's been working as also. And then for the past 4 to 5 months, he's been remained silent without any progress, although we have follow up him. How should I and my colleague deal with this kind of students?
Yeah, Dr. Azhari, I think what you can do, you just keep reference for your follow up, because the student later on, when they have when they dismiss or suspended from then they say they will say I don't know, I don't. Then you have some reference that you contact him, you send email. Better to send email. If you send WhatsApp also, then you keep that as a reference for you later on to discuss with him. But the thing is, it depends in the language level, the level of student language. If he is really his language is not up to the writing in English, better for you to ask him to find Arabic, to change to Arabic. Because I have also same experience with one student. He's hardly speaking how are you and what's your name, and he want to write in English.
Yeah.
Same thing. He keep copy and paste, and you just see it's like puzzles. What he write the first 10 pages that he submit. I then I just tell him, you better change to Arabic. You are not qualified to write in English, or if you want to write in English, go and study. Go IELTS, because the student, my student was from Libya. I said, okay, you have money, you can go to IELTS, then like at least 6 months, 5 months, you come back. We can continue. But with this level, you cannot. We cannot because otherwise it will give you headache when you read. You will read like
Yeah.
from paragraph to paragraph is different,
Yes.
different story at all, totally
It's
different
very,
story.
it's very,
So
very hard to understand his
yeah,
writing.
yeah. So you need because we need also maybe maybe one of the thing that the faculty can do is to have a kind of in the first semester for the student is to push them uh, to learn English, also to expose themselves to the academic articles and so on. Because that's one of the things that I will discuss in the second session, which is about the thesis, because the Arabic references it's not same like the English references. It's not
Mm-hmm.
systematic because so the students sometimes even they write in English. If they
Mm-hmm.
quote reference in Arabic, then you need to question that article in terms of whether they have methodology, because sometimes the most of the Arabic references, not all, are in a narrative way, just writing the idea
Yeah.
that yeah that's article. Or even if they do analysis, they do simple descriptive analysis. So it's not that there is a problem and you need like what you do the
Yeah.
methodological aspect
Mm.
so you need to sometimes we need to level up the student first, then we ask them.
Yeah, I think that's why his chapter one, I think it's like 100 pages. Chapter one. I think it's just copying from other sources and then put it here, and then the paragraph is not synchronized. What you said just now, it's happened to me.
Yes,
Thank you, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Azhari. Any other question on this?
Assalamualaikum,
Okay.
Walaikum assalam.
Dr. Abdullah.
Walaikum assalam.
Dr. Shahida.
Oh, this is
Ah, ah,
international level. We are in the
yes,
international level.
she's Dr. Shaida is
Masya Allah.
expert.
Masya Allah. International.
Yeah.
International. Okay. Okay, Dr. Shaida. Okay, please ask.
Alhamdulillah, Dr. Allah, finally we managed to arrange this session. Alhamdulillah. Dr. Abdullah, as we discussed before, actually, I did mention some issues of the students. Not issues, but sometimes I see that these students, especially those who are from Sharia background, okay, they have problems when it comes to critical analysis, writing critical analysis of the literature. Okay, I found that most of them only copy and paste the list of literatures and put one by one all the literatures in the list. Okay, and another issue, Dr. Abdullah, I also found that when it comes to literatures, especially those Arabic speaking students, they refuse to refer to English literatures. So how to deal with, I know that as you suggested just now, maybe you can ask them to refer to Google Translate. But some students, they just want, I asked them many times, refer to English literatures. There are a lot actually. When we ourselves do our own homework, we supervisor have to do homework and search literature for them. But I never share with them. I know there are literatures that in their topic in English, but they just want to read the Arabic one. So how, Dr. Abdullah? I don't know. I asked them to refer to English literatures, articles, journal in English, but to the extent they still refer to the Arabic one. That is the first question. My second question is regarding this one. I think we need to settle down with Dr. Hazrina and also GSM. Some students, they assume that we supervisor also required to manage their admin matters, meaning that their registration, they assume we are the one supervisor who need to consult JSM and also our postgraduate office. Sometimes I was like, yeah, we can assist them, but it is not our duty, right? Okay, we can assist them, but to the extent that we also don't know what is the major issue in terms of the system, the IPPS system. We're also not sure. We're also not clear. But to the extent that their expectation, they assume supervisor are the one who manage everything. Okay, so I afraid that towards the end, as Dr. Abdullah you said just now, towards the end, anything happen to the students, at the end they will blame us. They will blame us. So can you give us advice and encouragement how to deal with this kind of attitudes, okay, among the students? Okay, and then number 3, Dr. Abdullah, sorry, this one I think I observed these tips when we had last colloquium. Dr. Nahazina, very good. Okay, when the last colloquium, I just want to share with all of you, I forced all the students to present in the colloquium. Why? Because in the meeting, when we had our meeting with the students, some of the students, they don't want to listen to our suggestion, as Dr. Abdullah said. Exactly, they don't want to listen. They just, I ask them to change this, they don't want. What happened, Alhamdulillah, during colloquium, we have reviewer, right? We have also third party, our staff, our colleague reviewer to review their papers. And then when the reviewer complain and then give comment to them, they can listen. I was like, we mentioned to them many times. We did explain, you have to do this one, you have to do this one. But as if that they don't listen to us. But when it comes to examiner or reviewer in the colloquium, and then they came back to us, and then they don't say, as you said, Dr. Abdullah, exactly ego. Okay, but what they said, why don't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? I was like, I told you many times. But these students, yeah, but sometimes we need to do a strategic way. If it is not us, like Dr. Abdullah's suggestion, correct, we ask third party. Third party, okay, to advise and to give them input, okay, what anything related. Sometimes we need that way. Okay, so how Dr. Abdullah, these three issues. Number 1 on the literatures. Number 2 on the admin parts that they assume we also need to take care of that. And then number 3 on the apa tadi? On the what was this now, Dr. Kulin?
Third party, meaning that they have to listen to third party, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shaidawati. Yeah, I agree with you that about the issue of the first issue about the methodology. The student, because they feel it's kind of comfort zone. That when they read Arabic articles, they understand it and so on, and they feel it is more than enough. So for me, the way I is to give them some standards. I give some criteria. One criteria is 5 years, not older than 5 years. Article that if 70% of your articles that will be reviewed shouldn't be like 2015 and before. No, I don't accept. And also I give another criteria is about the country. You cannot bring two or three more than three articles from one country which is not the study sample. Let's say he study in Jordan, because some students they bring, let's say, one of my student just recently, his literature review all about Algeria, all from most of the like nine studies or 9 articles are from Algeria, which I said it's not acceptable, because what they do, as I said, they search for one thesis from Algeria and then they copy paste. So that is the second point. The third point, I tell English, you have no way to skip the English articles. So I give them for my practice. What I do, I search for some articles in English, recent articles. Then I just send them the link. I said this articles should be in your literature. I gave them. So I don't want to have headache. Yeah, they because sometimes they will tell you, oh, I searched but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
right.
yeah, so to skip to avoid this kind of response, I give them like five because it's easy to search in Google. So like five, sometimes 10 articles, which is I'm okay with their quality, this kind of research journals and so on. So I give them, okay, these articles you need to review, and you give me you put them in yellow highlight. Then I can know. I ask them to, yeah, then so I don't let them to bluff me, because unfortunately the Arabic student, they try to bluff sometimes you tell them do this, and then they submit the correction without doing the exact things. That's one of the and if you I face me and Dr. Nur Ashikin have the experience with one of the students. He writes in English, but he's from Jordan, and we supervise, ask him, okay, you do this correction after Viva, post Viva. We give him the guideline how he do, and then we feel reluctant somehow, because we feel, yeah, we already show him how to do, and he submit, but we didn't emphasize in a few things. He didn't do it, and when submit to the internal examiner, we are the one who get blamed.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't let them do that. So then just ask them, highlight every correction you do.
Mm.
Yeah, that's one of the tips I will mention later on. Yeah. Yeah, this is the about the literature. About admin, I think um, one of the things that leads the student to, unfortunately, to contact the supervisor is somehow the late response from the administration officers. Then they feel like they are close to us as a supervisors. Then they please do this, but I believe if there is a more efficiency response from the from the system, or from the officers, the GSM and so on. I don't blame the GSM. Lisa is having overload work. I know. Lisa and Amira and so on. But what to do? This is the thing. The student then come back. I keep, for me, Lisa and Amira knows. I keep WhatsApp them. How about this student? We need to because the student, if they didn't get the response from Lisa or from the GSM, they will keep pushing us and give us another headache. So we need to solve their issues to look for to fill space, fill space. Yeah. What to do? We should collaborate, Dr. Shaidawati. What to do? Yeah. The third matter is about I agree. Yeah, your experience is good. Push the student to have the third party, and sometimes I told you, sometimes they are more very how to say, eager to their opinion. Ask them to give you two opinion, but two reflect opinion, or three, but not from their side, because they will give you from their universities in their country. No, don't accept. I got one student. He gave me the I changed his model about and the theoretical framework. I asked him, no, this one not acceptable, and then he gave me opinion from one professor in Oman, in Kabos University. Uh, it's kind of embarrassing because the so he even argue about the opinion. Then I just tell the student, you are a student in USIM. If you want to follow, you continue study, you follow. If not, then go to study in Campus University.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the professor over there from Egypt, but he consult he said this is wrong. My opinion is wrong. This one is not right. So
Oh.
yeah, so because sometimes you don't know the culture of there, how they present the idea there. So the best way, you choose the third party yourself. Ask them to find in the Malaysian universities. I believe they will. You will not. We as a supervisors, we will not give something ridiculous. We will give them something to enhance the quality, but the student attitude sometimes is not in cannot understand that. They feel that we are trying to delay them from graduation. That's the problem with the student. But a third party opinion is like the last option.
Okay, tasyakur. Thank you, Doctor. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shahida. Okay, thank you, Dr. Abdullah. I think you want to go for your second session. But before we go to that session, we on the part of GSM, we are very sorry because sometimes I know that some of the application takes longer, but it's okay. I think you can contact me personally. I think sometimes I resolve the issue personally if there are some backlog. So we try to smoothen the process. And another thing is that regarding the announcement, I understand that I think Dr. Shahida mentioned this one because the announcement are all in English because none of us can speak Arabic. So if we are very honored if any of the supervisors here that can translate it for us because sometimes I'm not sure whether the student themselves can actually Google translate the announcement, but maybe they say that they don't get the announcement because it's not in Arabic or something like that. Okay. All right, Dr. Abdullah, I pass it to you for your second session.
Okay. Okay. By the way, Dr. Azlina, if you want me to help in translating the
Yeah,
most of
sure.
the notice, just send
Not,
it. I
okay.
can
All
do
right. All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Just
very
send me
much, Dr.
the
Abdullah.
template. I will
Yeah.
translate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because sometimes they will say that they don't get the message because it's not in Arabic. They don't understand because we do have that kind of response from the students. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah.
Okay. Okay. So now let's talk about the issue with writing Arabic thesis. The style of academic writing is one of the issues. Thesis proposal structure is also another issue because as I said, the students sometimes use the examples of Arabic thesis from their university's home country and so on. So it is different, totally different. Sometimes they don't have a proper methodology, a proper literature review and so on. So we shouldn't we should give emphasis on this, how to solve this issue, and I'll explain how I manage that with my student. And then one of the biggest issue, theoretical and conceptual framework, which the student, especially the quantitative student who write in Arabic, they did not get the idea. Although I will explain in details on this, although we in the methodology subject that I teach, I give them examples, I give explain to them, but the student did not take it seriously. They take it as a subject that they should memorize and do this assignment and finish. And I will explain some reasons for that. And then literature and literature gap, and then methodology, data collection, data analysis, and those things that related to the Arabic thesis will explain, will discuss one by one. academic writing. Uh, the issue with academic writing, sorry, is that um, especially those who come from Sharia background, as Dr. Shahidati mentioned, that the writing is kind of writing a book. They write, the way of writing is kind of writing a book. Even you can smell the the, how to say it, you smell the from the beginning of any in the introduction part, when they say Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, writing something like they are writing khutbah. I I just feel, or sometimes when they mention one of the example, when they mention the, let's say they talk about their king or their, then they say the Hafidhullah, may Allah bless him, and they keep like two lines talking about His Majesty, or so I feel irritated on that. I said no. No, that's not academic. You should write academic writing, and the way is to give them example. First of all, what I do, I give them previous I have one of my student who already graduated. So like example, I said this is the way, and also I sometimes I guide them to some YouTube link video that explain how to write in academic. I have done two or three. Three workshops in this matter: methodologies, problem statements, and so on, and also academic writing. And then I just pass it to them, ask them to do. And even with that, sometimes some of the students did not get the idea. I asked them to. I asked some student to summarize the differences between what he has done and the example that I give. So what is the difference? So just to bring to let them think the difference between their work and the academic writing that we are expecting. And then the thesis proposal structure, and this one, as I said, students come with different school of thought from the Arabic. From one thing is from the Arabic universities that they have, like Azhar University, they don't emphasize much in the literature or in the methodology. They just give like 2 pages methodology. I view one thesis, PhD thesis. They you are okay with this noise, or should I change my place?
This one is okay. Maybe you can put the mic near to your. It's better. Yeah, it's better. This one.
Okay, okay. So either the student come from, as I said, different university, different like Azhar University or in Jordan, they don't much emphasis in the literature and methodology or the structure that we follow in USIM. Uh, the other things is sometimes the student come from different field like Sharia or from law. Um, those students, they have also even from student for come from Sharia and law faculty. If they do master in USIM Sharia and law faculty, we will face same difficulties because the structure of the thesis is different. They give them the option to write I think the literature just maximum, like one of the student is writing uh, just 16 pages, and then when I search in the guideline, it's one of the option. So we need to ensure that whether the student is aware about the guideline of FAME, Faculty of Economic and Muamalat, guideline of writing. Um, and then I mentioned those two, having Arabic thesis, proposal, structure, style from the Arabic University. And this is one of the issues that the theoretical and conceptual framework, and I believe the student is facing difficulty in understanding the concept and differentiating the two theoretical and conceptual framework الإطار النظري والإطار المفاهيمي. And I don't blame them much, because even if you Google the الإطار النظري and الإطار المفاهيمي النظري in the Google, you will see confusing materials. Sometimes the materials you will find in some Google material that it's same. They are not different in Arabic. So you need to somehow explain to the student. And I believe my slide for the methodology is available in my teaching file. So you can ask the student if they take the subject to review and go back to the that materials to get the differences between the two. So, why it's difficult? There is a lack of good example in Arabic thesis with the conceptual theoretical framework. This is one thing. The second one, student does not consider seriously the conceptual and theoretical framework when they study the research methodology in the first semester. So what I found that to the point that some students they do well in the assignment. They could differentiate between the two, but later on I have experience with one student in the when I was the examiner for the QT for the same student. He missed out the conceptual and theoretical framework in the writing in the proposal submitted for QT, but in the when they submit to me for the research methodology, somehow they are okay. I believe that is where the supervisor we need to ensure the role of supervisor. First, we need to ensure that we understand the different. Forgive me, because myself, in the first place, I was not that clear to me. Not I'm not telling others, but myself. I need to understand and clear the idea, having clear idea about the difference between the theoretical and conceptual framework, and then try to have your list of criteria of differences between this conceptual and theoretical framework, and then you explain it to the student and supervise the student in that manner. Because the student, if the student especially in this theoretical framework, I believe is quite critical to me, to myself, if I'm the examiner for a student who, especially for PhD, and who is not writing or writing a proper theoretical, conceptual, and conceptual framework, then I may give him major. So I believe that we need to have some role here to first educate ourselves as supervisors, and then have list of way of list of criteria, what is the difference between the two, and how to explain to the student. Because as I said, if you let the student go and do their work, the search for the difference between the two, if they refer to the Google materials, sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes they give the student should be aware of that there is a differences, because some articles they mention that they are same. Okay, now we move to literature gap, as Dr. Shadawati mentioned here. The student did not understand the literature. There is what is
I think
gap?
it's not very clear, Dr. Abdullah. It's like
Okay,
we can see
okay,
noise. Okay.
okay, like this.
Is it okay?
How about like this?
Better. I think this is better.
Okay. I'm sorry for this. I don't know whether the internet connection, because laptop I use it with my class using the same mic. But maybe
the internet connection.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so for the literature gap, this in the issue is that the student is Arabic student. They don't understand that what is literature gap. Sometimes I will explain. It is an issue of terminology, because in the Arabic thesis, that if they refer, they will find something called التعليقات. تعليق على الدراسات. التعليق, the opinion of the student, of the writer on the literature. So it is when I tell you need to find the gap first and then give your opinion, but the student do not get that point mostly. So we need to explain to them. I mean, we have the issue of summarizing and reviewing, because most of the student, I can tell 90% of the student, they do the summarizing in the first place, but then we keep pushing them to do the review, which is, as you know, it's one level up in terms of writing the literature in the student level. And this is one level up. Systematic literature review. I'm unfortunately, up to this point, none of my student was able to do systematic literature review due to lack of knowledge. Even I explain, I ask how to do it. I have one workshop about the systematic literature review in Arabic, and I asked a few students, and in the end they cannot do it, because it need the student to first to master the writing first, and also to do it in a very systematic way, and filterizing, and put the criteria for delisting and enlisting and so on. But up to this point, and alhamdulillah, USIM is not requiring that level of literature review. Then as I said, the terms confusing. التعليق على الدراسات, which is the student always do in their study. So we, as a supervisors, we need to ask them what is what you do is kind of giving your opinion on the studies, which is sometimes, it is a kind of template the student take. Sometimes the student, this is also one of the things that the Arabic student will do. They take the template of the تعليقات, or the opinion, critical opinion, in the end of literature review chapter, and they put it quite same for each for other studies. So what I do, if the student do that, I ask them, okay, I need your opinion to be after each study you review, you need to put your opinion in each section. Let's say you have some studies in discussing this variable relation with this variable, so you need to have your discussion based on sections, subsections, not in the end of the chapter. Just let the student to have different style, and also to ensure that they do their work, they are not copy and paste. Methodology is this is the real issue. The real issue in supervising Arabic thesis is laying in the methodology is here. Why? Because the student come with ready methodology. The I can say sometimes you from the day one when the student come with their proposal, they come and they told you I will do questionnaire. I will distribute it to my. I'm working in this ministry. I will distribute the questionnaire in this university, and then so they have clear idea, which is somehow not good to me. I always don't like that way because it is kind of. I believe the student is having ready research in their hand and they try to copy and paste. The problem also significant lack of understanding of the methodologies. I mean, some students they come they don't know that there is a qualitative and quantitative. And believe me, when they study, that's one of the issue teaching the Arabic student. They set up their mind that let's say when you explain to the student that okay there is a qualitative and there is quantitative, and you are doing quantitative research. So the students set up their mind that okay qualitative I will not consider. I will not even give attention to the lecturers or to the materials when explain about the qualitative. That's why it's when you come and supervise the student, and sometimes you tell, okay, you need to do a mixed method. You need to bring the qualitative also. They are like shocked. They don't know. Even sometimes I take them. I am the one who take the student. I told them I take you this and this, but in the end they feel they don't have that solid understanding about the methodologies, types, and approaches. And then data collection and analysis, which is a matter of reliability, real or fake. And I I experienced myself. I experienced me and Dr. Dila. I think we have one student already graduated. We was having a problem with the reliability of the data he collect. Uh, so we need to consider kind of techniques to ensure that how they collect the data, because the students sometimes if they didn't get respond, they have shortcut. And also the timing. Sometimes one of the student within 2 weeks they collect the 300 questionnaire. So you need to consider questioning this kind of fast collection of data. And also the type of data. For me, if the data is disk data, I mean library or secondary data, I'm quite okay with it because I can search on I take like pilot test. I ask the student, okay, give me some of the your data, and then I refer to the annual report and try to check the reliability of the study. We call it pilot check. But if it is filled data, which you cannot do, so what I normally do, I ask the student to first. I'm very concerned in the how the data the descriptive of the questionnaire, whether what is the trend, what is the trend direction? Is it all agree, or all not, or how many natural? Sometimes you feel like it is quite similar. So I asked the student to do some test, the t-test for the questionnaires, just to ensure that somehow And also if there is a late respond, also I do that kind of test to ensure that let's say if the gap 2 months, then I ask the student to run the late response analysis. And who collect? That is one of the things. And most of the student, Arabic student, they didn't collect themselves, either friend or which is things that you may not know, that there is some special agent, academic service in Jordan or in Egypt. They collect the data. The student give money and they collect the data. And I believe they are not honest. So sometimes they will mimic a data and send to the student. So we need to ensure, ask the student questions, how you collect, why you, how you ensure that this data is collected properly. Why not you go to collect yourself? Why not you do online questionnaires and survey and send email yourself? Don't rely on others. That's the thing that you should consider, not to let the student do the things and submit to you ready data. And data analysis, which is one of the things that uh, the student normally they didn't do the analysis, especially the Arabic student, even those who write in English. And the thing is, you can see that from the tidiness of the analysis. Sometimes you feel the struggle of along the chapter 1, 2, 3 with the student, and suddenly in the analysis chapter they submit it in a bulk, very organized chapter. So that is the clue that the student is not the one who analyze, is someone else, and sometimes it's office or other student. Unfortunately, in USIM, there are some USIM student in FKB or other faculties. They are giving this service with not only doing the analysis, also doing the writing the chapter, writing the whole chapter. And they collect, I get to know that they get 5,000 ringgit or sometimes 10,000 ringgit for the whole chapter, for writing, analyzing and writing the chapter. So what I do, sometimes you cannot change that because you already get you cannot ask the student to rewrite for something. So what I do, I ask the student to, I test the student, I give them, okay, for this table, you need to explain, you need to understand what is this table mean. Sometimes I give them even the figures, the coefficient and so on. So you need to understand the R square, you need to understand this, what does it mean. So I highlight things to the student to understand, especially the elderly students. Just to be sure. And normally I ask them to refer to the teaching materials for the data analysis of the subject. Okay, now we reach to the tips in the supervising the Arabic thesis and Arabic student. I think this is the last thing, and it's short. So one thing to handle, to do from my experience, is to have code of conduct or sometime a kind of contract. And I don't know whether you face the same thing, because the student keep approaching me to supervise them and so on. So I take that as an advantage to set some conditions. I said, okay, I can supervise, but in this condition. One thing is, you should accept any changes that I will give you. So your title
your model can be changed, so you don't argue, you don't say it cannot. So if you are okay with that, then we can proceed. Also, I set up some rule. I said, so if you your responsibility is to work, give some, especially in the first week. You should ask them about, tell them that I'm just coaching. I'm not responsible to, in your writing, even though later on you may do it, but just put it in the table and highlight the ethicals, the plagiarism issues that copy and paste and so on. Tell them that's not tolerable in university. So it's good to kind of, in Otago University in New Zealand, they have signed contract, code of signed paper between the supervisors and the students. So I didn't tell we should reach to that point, but it's good to let the student be aware about your condition. You are not just giving oral things and so on. So you need to push them to understand from the day one that they have responsibility. What is your responsibility as a supervisor, and what is the student responsibility as a student? Innovation. I always like to highlight this thing. I don't like the student. I told my student that I don't like the student who come with fabricate study or replicating other studies. Try to find something different and new in your study. So I always ask the student, what is your originality? What is your something? What you add? So when the student, especially in the chapter 1, I emphasize on the significant. What is the so what? So the student keep thinking, pushing them to bring something new in that level. And then for sure, I also discuss how supervisor and student can deal, because in Arabic style, I also mentioned this to many of my students that I don't accept expensive gift, because some student they are, I don't know, they're rich. Sometimes they give phone. I experienced one time they give camera, digital camera, above 5,000 last time. So I reject this kind of gift, because later on your hand will be tied. You cannot say no about the student. You feel like the student is thinking that you are working with them. And then the meetings, I think you should, for myself, if the student did not contact me within during 1 month, then I send a message to them, or actually now not, because for this year I didn't create a WhatsApp group, but previously I create WhatsApp group. Then every month I mention about the presentation. I asked each student to present their whatever their progress. So monthly presentation is required, and meeting, if you can, is every 2 weeks. But with this pandemic, I think online meeting probably 1 month. Then the university process, as Dr. Shadawati mentioned, that they may consider that it's one of our responsibility, but not. So you need to explain that in the beginning, that if I do something, it's kind of extra helping to you as a student. So it's your role to contact and follow the admin offices. It's not our responsibility. The goals, I also keep explaining to the student, and this is very important point, that my goal is different from your goal. Your goal is to
your goal as a student is to have to finish your thesis, to submit your thesis within, let's say, 3 years, within a certain period. But for my goal is to keep my name in a good reputation and ensure that the output or the thesis that you submit is quality in the quality level of my expectation. So you need to clear to say, to show to tell him that your goal is not it's not to just to send him to the viva. So the students sometimes, uh, if you put this kind of agreement or condition, I believe this, especially Arab student, they 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 will put it in mind. Okay, this lecturer is or this supervisor is this is his criteria. That's why he keep me ensuring the quality of the work. In the initial stage of research proposal, please try not to accept the proposal as it is. Try to change either the title, model, variables. Try to add moderation, mediation variable. Try to see, find something. Don't let the student to keep his proposal title or model as it is. Method change. Ask him to do qualitative. The sample, which is one of the things that I believe you need to ensure, because even the student sometimes the student target the wrong side of sample, because sometimes, let's say, the student is looking to the customer satisfaction, but unfortunately he put as a target sample is the employee of the bank. So you need to ensure those kind of things, and so on. You can change things. Try to change. Don't let it as it is. Other tips is record the meeting. For me, I ask the student to record to. I don't know whether that's okay for the other supervisors, but I ask the student, okay, bring your phone up, open the record, and then record our meeting. The reason is the student cannot. Sometimes they don't get the point. Then I ask them, okay, I tell you in the meeting, you try to repeat. Sometimes I give them, I tell them, you need to set up the problem statement in this and this and this. They cannot write fast, so just a way of helping the student to get the idea, to capture the idea. Then highlighting the changes. Any comment you give, this is what I know. I learned from my experience that the student, previously I asked the student to print out and with underlining or highlighting the changes for each time they submit, especially in the final submission, because you need one thing, we cannot read everything from beginning, from scratch. We need to first ensure the changes that we give. And normally I will I say the student, if the student is not honest, then I will compare with my comment. I open the two files, the file of my comment, and then check with the correction that the student made. And most of the time, I find the student try to skip a few comments. So that's the thing that I add here some research academic methodologies, terminology, sorry, that you as a Arabic supervisor, you need to highlight. Sometimes when you say problem statement, they may they may try to later on translate it, but it's good for us as an supervisor to mention it in Arabic. Then the student link it to the conversation. I think that's all. Any questions
Okay.
Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abdullah. Okay, any question from the floor, from the other lecturer? Any question regarding the supervision? I think everybody, I think overwhelmed. I'm not sure, Dr. Abdullah. If nothing, then Dr. Abdullah, is it possible? I think I saw you having your slides just now. Is there anything on the slide? Maybe you can share that one with us or what? Dr. Abdullah, are you there?
I'm okay. I will send the file to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay. I will pass it to the rest of the faculty for the slide. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah, for your sharing session. I hope that whatever tips that you have already shared, I mean, we can take it and try to apply it to our students. I mean, to make the best of everything. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that some of us having different kind of experience. I think we have same experience. I think handling our Libyan student last time, right?
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Abdullah,
You know.
we share. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that you said that was your difficult student. You told me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that the attitude. Sometimes the student attitude is ego, like that. The student is
Yeah.
he is above than
Yeah.
like extreme ego. You cannot handle. He feel like that, like
Yeah.
you are not your understanding is below him. So that's
Yeah.
the thing that we face together with that student.
Yeah, because he was my students in the beginning, but it's just that I couldn't handle him anymore. But I should thank you for being able to handle him and then try to actually teach me how to deal with some of the Arabic students. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Doctor.
now, if nothing else, if no other question, so I think we can end the session with Tasbih Kifara and Surah Wa'as.
Bismillah.